Okay. Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. Today our group will have a discussion about one theme which is human right, and our focus is on the banning of smoking in eateries is violating right of people to smoke. The ban can be seen as a form of mistreatment on people right and freedom. So what is our view? Our group members consist of 5 members, which is me, Nur Amira Fariza binti Ahmad Tarmizi, and my matric number is 205866.
My name is Nurul Asnashila binti Syari. My matrix number is 205267.
My name is Putri Nurul Izzah binti Azman. My matrix number is 208325.
My name is Nur Ainabillah binti Mokhtar. My matric number is 205296.
Hello, my name is Nurhani Safia binti Junaidi and my matric number is 207282.
Alright, so shall we start our discussion? Okay, I will start the discussion first by giving the term or meaning about human rights, so we will have a better understanding. So according to U.S. National Library of Medicine, human right is one rule of protection that established to protect fundamental fundamental values such as ability to live, to have a family, and free from cruel treatment. So it's actually about people should live in healthy environment and have a healthy life. So from this term, and when I relate it with our focus today, I totally disagree that banning of smoking in eateries is violating right of people to smoke, because from my view, people who say ban of smoking in eateries is one type of violating, actually they break their own human right, because they choose to have unhealthy unhealthy environment, and also unhealthy life because they are smoke at the public place. And eateries actually is a place for us to having food, not for having secret. Okay, so actually the smokers just thinking about their self to smoke without thinking about other right to eat. So basically it's not violating human right of smokers, but actually violating human right of others people to eat at the eatery place such as restaurant. So what about your opinion, Asna? Do you agree with me?
All right. I am quite interested when you talk about the smokers discriminating themselves for smoking and choosing to have unhealthy environment and poor health. However, in my perspective, I would say that smoking ban in eateries is actually a violation towards the smoker, meaning I am agree to this focus. Before I talk further, I would like to talk about people's right and freedom based on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is the first legal document to set out of fundamental human rights to be universally protected. It contains of totally 30 articles revolving about people's right in every possible aspect. I am certain that Article number 1 and Article number 25 are relevant for this discussion. Article number 1 talks about all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. However, Article number 25 talks about all human beings have the right to live adequate the health and well-being of himself and his family. In short, everyone has the right to choose however they want to live their own life, and smokers choose to consume those harmful substances. It's their right to do so. But the problem is when the enforcement of smoking ban in eateries restricts smokers' right to smoke in eateries. They have to go as far as 3 meters away from the table to smoke, which is described as the third-class refugee by Kapar members of parliament, Dato Abdullah Sani Abdul Hamid. So instead of banning to smoke in eateries, the government could easily make a smoking zone in every eateries to make it fair for both smokers and non-smokers to have their right protected. Other than that, since that smoking ban is introduced, smokers may receive harsh treatment from other people in eateries, such as glaring and mocking for not obeying the law, while it is an unnecessary action. That is all for me.
All right. Okay. I think I would agree to the statement that the banning of smoking in eatery is violating the human right of people to smoke. So smoking is up to the individual, not by others. Each person have their own freedom to choose whether they want to smoke or not. If people who don't like smoke or want to maintain their health, they should avoid the smoker. For instance, if you going out to having a food at any any restaurant, you can see you can see a group of smoker in the same restaurant, what would you do? So it's up to you if you want to stay or leave. So this is clearly show that people have right to choose. I think it is not necessary for us to completely ban the smoking in the eateries, because there are also smoking section provided for the smoker. It is okay to smoke if the place have a good air ventilation. What we have to do is we need to educate the smoker with a common sense, not by banning them. Also, they should be considerate to not to smoke in eatery where it involves children and pregnant mummies there. Also, there's a rule in Malaysia for smoker to smoke within 3 meters away from the premise. So here I would like to highlight that our government itself are not totally ban this activity.
However, I totally agree with Ayn point, because in this context, people that smoke freely in at-risk areas such as restaurant or any at-risk area does not capable or suitable in the term of violating the right of people to smoke. It's totally irrelevant because in this particular issue, the smoker are not prohibited to smoke in other places, except for eateries and public places that have a crowd. For instance, if you are an active smoker that cannot spend a long time without lighting your cigarette in a restaurant, you can just walk out from the restaurant about 3 meters and smoke there. However, I also have a different perspective here. Before I further to my point, let me repeat first the issue of our top discussion today, which is the banning of smoking in eateries area, which is violating the right of people to smoke. Based on what Amira has said, my first opinion is about to gain with this issue. So to cope with this issue, we really need to understand better on what the meaning of people right and the freedom. So let me see if I understand you correctly, Amira. So when we talk about the human right, it is correlated to the Human Right Act in civil law. So I consent to the right to live, freedom from degrading treatment, freedom from forced labor, and the most important thing is everyone has the right to maintain a healthy life and living in a healthy environment. So in this context, people that can smoke freely in eateries such as restaurant and other eateries area might increase the possibility of exposing the secondhand smoke. So this is the point, the secondhand smoke. As we know, secondhand smoke has a serious negative health consequence for other people. I personally don't care what you do with your own body. Although I would advise you to quit smoke for your own good. But I do care that your behavior, smoking in the public area and eateries restaurant, will affect the health of others. So as a second-hand smoke will expose the the second-hand exposure is linked to the negative outcome on person health. And I would like to say here, many countries today have a law that prohibit the smoking in public area because it affects a non-smoker as well. So this damages their health against their will and desire and could cause the lung cancer. So what do you think, Anis, about this particular issue?
I really get what you are trying to say. And I really agree when you say that we really need to understand more about the human rights and also our rights to living in a healthy environment. And I agree with you. I couldn't agree more because, in my opinion, I disagree that the banning of smoking in eateries is violating the right of people to smoke, or it can be seen as a form of mistreatment on people's right and freedom. I strongly believe that just because they are not allowed to smoke in eateries does not mean that we violate their rights to smoke. We are only banned them to smoke in a certain area, such as in eateries, and they still can smoke in another place. When we talk about human rights, we should remember that there are other human rights that will get violated if people smoke in public, such as in eateries. The enjoyment of the highest attainable standard of health is one of the fundamental rights of every human being without distinction of race, religion, political belief, economic, or social condition. Thus, in my perspective, that smokers' right to smoke is not violated since they just cannot smoke in certain area, such as in eateries, since it will create unhealthy environment for other people and it is not fair since everyone has the rights to live in a healthy environment and avoid being secondhand smoker. Do you guys agree with me?
I'm interested
What
to
is
add
your
some
opinion,
point.
Mira?
I'm interested to add some point to Anis. What you are talking before. As Ani say, we are not violate the human right of smoker because they just cannot smoke only in interest, but they can smoke. They can smoke at other place. So basically, I don't think banning of smoking in eateries is like our topic say is violate the right of people to smoke, or we call it mistreatment on people right of freedom, because I also believe that we are not totally ban them. We just like one rule, or um, just like one rule to encourage them to not smoking in eateries, because we have to understand the right of other people too. They want to eat at the restaurant, and they're also a kid, a family that maybe they want a healthy environment for them to eat happily and calmly at the restaurant. So that's why I don't think it is one of big issue or a big violating to human right of the smoker, because they still can smoke at other place. They still can buy a cigarette from shop, and yeah, I think I disagree with this focus.
I'm sorry.
However, you
Um,
can continue as now.
okay. I'm sorry, but I would like to change my point of view. After listening to everyone's opinion, I came to think that it is irrelevant to say the smoking ban in eateries is a violation to people's right. It is a violation to human rights to deny individuals their fundamental moral entitlement. It is in a sense of to treat them less than human and undeserving of respect and dignity. However, we can see that it is not applied in this smoking ban in eateries introduced by Malaysian government. It is just that if a person is caught smoking in eateries, they will just be get fined. No such treatment as treating smokers less than a human or mocking their dignity or whatsoever. Moreover, human rights law is the one to control society's behavior so that no one's right is violated. So I think that it is irrelevant to say smoking ban in eateries is a violation to smokers. However, as I have mentioned before, it would be better if the government introduced a smoking zone in every eateries premise for smoker. I think it would settle everything down, including society's reaction to this enforcement. And that is all that I want to say.
Thank you, Asna. I think it is a very good point. But however, I also have a different perspective here. Let's say a person who has paid for the service charge to eat in certain eateries or restaurant, there is no signboard that indicate that prohibits smoking in that particular area. So he or she might has a thought that the smoking is legal and they have the right to smoke in that particular area because they pay for the service charge. So here, I want to ask you guys, what do you think about this particular area?
So, Iza, what are you trying to say? Is that what about our opinion if that they paid so they can literally smoke in the eateries area? Am I right?
Ah, yes, you're right.
In my opinion, it is true that they paid for the service, but what I have through my research, which is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 1948, there's Article 2 and 7 that entitle all people, including the persons exposed to secondhand tobacco smoke, to equal protection under the law without discrimination. So as we could see, is it right that the smoker paid for the service? But it doesn't mean that he is allowed to against the rule because literally he paid for the service, which is for the eating, which is he's going to get a good service from the restaurant. But doesn't mean that he is able to against the law. And we have to know that the law is basically not going to let anyone smoke, whether he paid the service, whether he is the manager, or some with a big title. So I think whatever that the smoker do, whether he paid or even become the owner of the building, No one can against the law, and it is not violating the right of him to smoke because he can smoke 3 meters away from the restaurant. So yeah, that is my perspective on this issue. What about you guys?
Yes, Hanis, I think common sense is important than the sign provided in the restaurant that prohibit the smoker to not smoke there. As a as a as a smoker, I think the smoker should be more considerate when they are planning to smoke there. They should consider that the people in the eatery premise where it involves children and many people well where it involves many people like children, pregnant mummies, and so on. So I think we have reached our consensus that we disagree to the statement that the banning of smoking in eateries is violating the human right of the people to smoke. Before we end our discussion, I would like to conclude that smoking ban in eateries could violate any human right to smoke depends on the situation. It could be a violation when it involves discrimination on the smoker, like Iza said before, when the restaurant owner did not provide the sign that prohibit the smoker to not to smoke there. At the end, they have to pay for the fine. And also, it may not be a violation when it involves to passive smoker and the secondary smoker, where people have their right to maintain a healthy life and living in the healthy life. I think that's all from our discussion today. Thank you all. Thank you guys.